Okay, recording is on. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Christina.
Morning. You know.
Excellent. So welcome to another LCG Coffee Morning. Today we have a very special guest, and I will let Sal make introductions.
Hi everyone, I'm Sal, CEO and co-founder of London Canner Group. Today we're very lucky. We've got the two directors from EP3 Labs, Marc and Haseeb Bani. Go on, Marc.
Hi, thank you very much. So a short introduction on myself. I've spent the last roughly 12 years studying cannabinoids, herbal medicine, nutrition, psychedelics, and various different genetic fields of the cannabis sector, formulations, extraction, and fortunately we're in a position at EP3 Labs to create a really exciting white label formulation company that we're working with some really interesting brands around the country with.
Haseeb.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Haseeb. I've spent the last 2 years studying Marc. My background is chemistry, and obviously working alongside Marc, trying to implement the previous knowledge I have in chemistry into the cannabis sector and bringing the two of those together, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Nice. So guys, I've got the big money question that everybody wants to ask manufacturers and producers of CBD, and it's all to do with the FSA deadline next March. So what I want to really know is, how does that affect the brands that are already on the market at the moment and some of the big high street retailers, but also how does it affect the guys that are looking to enter the market, in the next because a lot of people that I was speaking to at the beginning of the year, they were planning to launch in summer. Some of them have prolonged it to a bit further due to the COVID lockdown, etc. But how does it really affect people now who already have brands, and how does it affect people that want to launch brands?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Sal. Really interesting one. And initially, I'll tell you a little about how it's affected us, because obviously, as a white label company, we work with a lot of brands. I'll kind of explain some of the journeys that we've seen brands go on and some of the differences that we've seen, obviously due to the statement by the FSA with regards to the deadline for validation of novel food applications. We originally, as an organisation, set ourselves up very much focused on research and development and innovation and creating, basically our kind of remit as we started was to effectively say we can do anything with CBD. Well, from a formulation perspective, with obviously my knowledge and background and Haseeb's expertise in chemistry, we very much felt that we could see an industry that was growing to a large variety of products, both in terms of format, and bioavailability. When the deadline came, when novel foods was declared as something that everybody had to act upon to remain legally compliant, we realized at first that there's quite a large barrier to entry for our products. So the way that we were working previously was basically, if a client wanted something, we do the development work for it and then they put it onto the market, which was a reasonably simple route. So for us, we had quite a broad range of SKUs that we created for different people. What Novel Food has actually done is very much narrowed down that field of vision for us. So for us, on the one hand, we've had to consolidate our range of SKUs that we sell and basically create a range of 12 products that we will ensure are compliant with novel foods. So for instance, doing the necessary stability and ADME studies and data compilation for each one of those products. For other brands that want to enter the market or are already in the market and have a specific formulation that they want to work with, the additional cost of this is now producing somewhat of a barrier to entry. And I think this is the real difficulty that we're seeing. So we have a number of brands that have been on the market for some time now that maybe haven't done the necessary stability work, maybe haven't done all of the necessary pieces of the puzzle with regard to novel food application. This is causing somewhat of an issue for people because there's no budget been allocated to companies. So this creates a problem. So some of the smaller startups that maybe don't have a lot of capital within the business to be able to do all this work to ensure compliance for the 31st has become quite difficult. So that moves companies like that potentially down the line of having white label supplied goods as opposed to being able to develop their own products and do that. But with that said, I suppose the way to put it is fortune favours the brave, so to speak. A lot of companies have focused their overall model on marketing strategies, on ways of selling the products, as well, as opposed to having a focus on the regulatory side of the industry. As an organisation, we very much set ourselves up from the get-go as a regulatory compliant company, both be it through Novel Foods or the quality management system that we're working on at the moment, to ensure, and we will be fully certified come October, touch wood, as an organisation. And all of this is very important when it comes to the novel food application. So when you're looking at the way that products are manufactured and the way that, and the flow through from raw material and the data compilation of that, also the plan that you have within your manufacturing facility, so your HACCP plans, your quality management system internally, the way that you manufacture the products and creating consistency between the batches is incredibly important. So what Novel Foods has done is it's almost created an environment where companies have to invest to reach compliance. They have to spend money to do it. And some companies understand and acknowledge that, and other companies don't. I think there's been a lot of misinformation about Novel Foods over the past couple of years, and it's been almost sold as a barrier to entry, I suppose. And you know, when you look at it, it's a very complex process. But ultimately, it's a safety assessment. And with the product that we're dealing with, ultimately, it's a derivative of cannabis. And all of us that have an interest in the plant of cannabis that want to see it more freely available understand that if we can prove the safety profile of these extracts and these products, then actually that legitimizes cannabis, CBD, and cannabinoids as a food supplement going forwards. So that's basically my view. I'm not sure, Haseeb, have you got anything to add into that?
Yeah,
Haseeb, you muted.
There we go. I was going to say, as Mark was saying, exactly that. It's been a wake-up call, not just for the brands operating within the space, but for us as a company as well. As Mark was saying, it's allowed us to see the level of investment and budgeting we need to do to ensure we as a company are legally compliant with the Novel Foods guidelines, but not just the Novel Foods guidelines. I think there was the misconception prior to Novel Foods that CBD is an uncompliant industry and you can kind of do whatever you want. So what it's helped us realize is it is just any other food supplement that's being sold on the market. So Novel Foods is just one section of the whole thing. And then as Mark was saying, the whole other section is the safety and the quality of the product in general. So we focused all our efforts onto putting into place a robust quality management system, proving the safety of our product, proving that there's no microbiological growth within our products, and just ensuring that what we put out of there at the end of the day is a quality product and a compliant product. And I think that's been the biggest wake-up call during all of this for us and the partners we work with, has been it is a race to become compliant, and we have to do everything we can to ensure we hit those deadlines.
Thanks, guys, for them answers. Yeah, so what we've noticed on our end a lot is, you know, a lot of the companies that were looking to launch in summer, as I mentioned before, you know, they all stopped and they all had a long time to think. And also, one thing that we've seen a lot from the data is, you know, online sales of CBD increasing quite a bit for the existing brands on the market. What I really want to know on your end on production, how have you seen production, you know, change? Has it increased a lot? Has it stayed the same? You know, what type of clients are you seeing now? Has it done anything? You know, that sort of thing.
We're seeing people taking less risks. Of course, I think a year ago, people were willing to take a chance on it, get involved and see how it goes. People were willing to throw big money behind it as a risk to reap the rewards of that. But I think now people are a lot more risk averse because, as Mark said, there's been a lot of misinformation around novel foods and what it is. People hear the two words novel and foods and they're immediately scared. But as we were saying, it is simply just a safety assessment. It's a complicated process to navigate, but it's not. The two words themselves aren't as scary as they are made to be. So that's been the biggest change. We haven't seen as many newcomers willing to take that step into the industry and just take a chance on it. It's been more so established brands, bigger brands, people with a route to market already, people who it's less of a risk for, and that's probably been the biggest change production-wise. Us guys as a company, Mark will tell you the first couple of weeks of COVID, everyone's a little bit scared, like what's going to happen. Not just the CBD, obviously, it's something that us as a generation have never gone through. So it's a scary thing to navigate to begin with. But it's actually been a really good time to take a step back, look at ourselves as a company, and make some very, very, very necessary changes. And those changes are paying off and have paid off, and we are seeing ourselves hitting capacity very quickly, and we are seeing our number of partners that we work with increasing, and we're seeing a much higher quality.
And just to add to what Haseeb said there as well, I think over the past 2 years, as we've seen the industry in its kind of nascent phase, many people have kind of built quite a small budget and believe, okay, I can release a CBD brand. I think the combination of COVID and novel foods becoming kind of magnified to the majority of people, and the kind of barrier to entry to that, I think ties in very much with what you were saying, Sal, about brands and taking more time to look at it. I think people are looking very closely at their budgets and how they can plan, and creating very robust business plans for going forward that incorporate obviously everything around the requirements for finished products and the stability, etc., ensuring that they've actually got the right people within the business on a regulatory side. I think the biggest shortfall, well, the two biggest shortfalls in this industry are technical expertise and regulatory expertise, and there's so many companies out there that rely on, I suppose, word of mouth from others without necessarily doing their own digging or having a regulatory person within their organization doing this for them. And I think what companies are trying to do is structure themselves a lot better and raise the right amount of finance to ensure that they can really impact on the industry. And as Haseeb touched on as well, kind of your more established brands, or the ones that already have a route to market, are very much kind of pushing things forwards at this stage as well.
Yeah, Mark, just to go on from the points that you made in your first answer, what I really want to know is, what a lot of people do want to know, that the new brands that are just launched, forget about the marketing side and, launching the product into market, etc. Let's look at just the compliancy side of launching into the market. Let's pretend today I decided I want to start a CBD brand. It's August now. What in the most simplified way, what would be the route to the process to get to market on the compliancy side and the manufacturing side? What's the simplest way? It would be good if you can give some timelines with it as well, some rough timelines.
Yeah, so I suppose the key is understanding your supply chain and your traceability of that, working with a raw material manufacturer that can be very open with regards to their processes. So in essence, when you're looking at the novel food application, you've got the raw material manufacturer at the top, you've got the finished product manufacturer such as us beneath that, and the approach that's required to be able to be compliant is for those two to work in synergy together. So for instance, within the finished products, they need to be sure that the raw material manufacturer has all of the data that they need to ensure that their side of the novel food application works, and then the finished product manufacturer needs to ensure that they're in a position to be able to work with them and include themselves within the application that they're putting together. So as a new brand going to the market, I suppose it's about understanding the requirements of novel foods, and then when you're approaching a manufacturer, getting an understanding of not only what they do, their processes, their quality management system, their approach to novel foods and stability testing, but also their relationship with their raw material manufacturer and how that works with yourselves. And obviously the best way to do that is to effectively ask very kind of deep, intricate questions about how they function and how they work as an organization, to understand, do they have the processes in place? Do they have the quality management system in place? Have they generated all of the data? And when you talk about timelines, I mean, there's two aspects of it for me that are probably or potentially three aspects of it that are the most time consuming. So first of all, whether it's the raw material or the finished products, you need 5 batches worth of data. So for finished products, that would be the cannabinoid analysis. For the raw material, that is your heavy metals, pesticides, mycotoxins, cannabinoids, etc., etc. So obviously that's quite a time consuming process if you haven't already created 5 batches and have the data generated for that already. Obviously there's means and ways to work around that with your manufacturers if they can support you to ensure that obviously you can have those 5 batches in a way that works for you. So obviously that's a really important aspect of it in terms of timeline, because if you're looking to launch a new product on the market, the stability generation aspect of it is time consuming. So you can build a shelf life through a 6-month accelerated stability process. And obviously we're in the middle of August now. So you're looking at January before your stability work's completed. And then obviously your 2-year real-time stability as well. So from a kind of time consuming area, those are the 2 bits that you need to be very mindful of. And the third area I would say is for companies that don't understand the data generation, the how you put this information together in a dossier. So for instance, we use terpenes on our product, and for the majority of ingredients that you'll have, whether it's a flavoring or terpenes or anything else that you may use, you need to be able to get the generic information, the safety data for those products that are going into your ingredients. So it's not just about the CBD, you're creating a food product with a number of ingredients. Now, the good thing about this area of it is the majority of it already exists in the public domain. So you have the safety profile of, you know, whether it be terpenes or flavors. And again, you know, working with your manufacturers of flavorings and terpenes to ensure that their products are manufactured to the correct standard and they have all the necessary data and certificate of analysis, the CAS numbers and all these sorts of things. So the data generation side of it can be quite complex as well. But again, you know, the majority of that exists within the public domain, but it is information that you need to be able to pull together to be able to put into your application.
Wonderful. We have a question. And I would just like to tell our attendees that you can ask questions 2 ways, either by clicking on Q&A button or just by adding your question in a chat option. So this question came from Zain Peer. He's asking, can you guys supply water-soluble CBD powder? At the moment we import. Thanks.
So this actually ties into what I was saying earlier about from a development perspective, how we set ourselves out. So we put a lot of time and energy into both creating powdered products, creating nano-emulsions, water-soluble products, but the cost implications of getting these products through Novel Foods at this stage is, for us as an organization, possibly a little bit more than we can take. So from a development perspective, you know, we've done a lot of work both on powdered water-soluble products and also kind of water-based nano-emulsions. But as we are now, and as I mentioned earlier, we're kind of consolidating ourselves in our SKU list so that we can reach a place of compliance for the 1st of April next year. And then with a view, once we've kind of consolidated our position as a white label manufacturer, then beginning to work on some more innovative developments and really being able to kind of generate the necessary data for them. Because as a nano emulsion, as an example, within the novel food application, and if you go on the European Commission website, you'll see that nano is actually classified as a novel food in its own right. So there's obviously further kind of absorption studies and bioavailability information, given the fact that an encapsulation passes through the liver and moves directly into the digestive tract, and then it's released. So there's a bit more safety information required for that. So
it's the absorption studies as well, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the key thing is on the aspects of Mark said, we've had to consolidate our SKU list, which is something we have had to do, but we've ensured that our white label offering is still very, very innovative, and I hope stands ahead of what else is on the market at the moment. So as Mark said, our standpoint, our basis of incorporation was R&D, and all our time and energy went into creating new products and new ways to take CBD and bringing together the supplement market and treating CBD more as another ingredient rather than the be all and the end all of the products. Because for us, we see this industry obviously going towards that nootropics, nutraceutical space. So what we wanted to do was obviously bring that all together as much as we could. But yeah, on the water soluble CBD side, it is in line with what Marc has just said.
Quickly to add into that, Haseeb, so obviously, from my understanding, obviously, you've kind of banged down your SKU, you've limited your SKU list to ensure you can get compliant on everything in time. How does that work for, let's say a brand already has a product on the market, but wants to make it Novel Food, water soluble brand, it's already on the market, selling how it is, but wants to get it compliant now. I think that's, if you could answer that, that would be great, really.
It is. They're in a stronger position. They're in a stronger position than someone who's just looking to start, because as Marc was saying, they've hopefully got that 5 batches of data, or close to that 5 batches of data, because they've been selling this product for a while. They've also got real-time stability data in however long they've been selling this product. So say they've been on the market for a year, they should already have a year's worth of stability data for their product. So they're already obviously halfway there compared to someone who's coming onto the market now. So while it is the same steps as someone who's new to this space, they are in a stronger position because they're already a fair way down the line in having the right data, which is required to be a part of that supplementary addition to the Novel Foods application, alongside the raw material suppliers. Because at the end of the day, the bulk of the work has to be done by the raw material suppliers. The stuff that the brands and the finished product manufacturers have to do is a small percentage of that, but it is important. But yeah, they are further down the line.
2 questions came in. One is just purely mine, it's curiosity. How do you ensure consistency of, as an example, mgs of CBD or any other cannabinoid in gummies?
It's all in the manufacturing processes. So it's a key part of it is the quality management system. It is following the processes, the standard operating procedures, and having that repeatability, because if you haven't got repeatability throughout your processes, you're not going to get repeatability throughout your finished product. So the key thing is, obviously, you can be like us, the most innovative manufacturer, the best formulators, this, that, and the other, but unless your processes are up to scratch, you're going to get that differentiation from batch to batch. So the key thing is having those processes as ironclad as possible. And obviously the right training for the staff members, for the production teams, for the procurement teams, and everyone, just ensuring that there is that repeatability and traceability throughout the raw materials, throughout the manufacturing processes. And then that way you will see that repeatability throughout your analysis results.
Okay. Deborah is asking, can you explain white labeling and the benefits of going down this route and give some idea of cost?
There's obviously pros and cons to sorry, Marc, I saw you come off mute there, so I'll let you come after me. But there's pros and cons to everything, and there's pros and cons to obviously developing your whole new product from scratch, and there's pros and cons of going down the white label route. The biggest benefit of going down the white label route is, of course, those studies are being done by ourselves, so the brands themselves do not have to pick up this level of work, and for them it's just picking up a product off the shelf which is already compliant by the 31st of March, and then obviously just rebranding that product and selling that product. So there's no additional cost like there would be going down the innovation route, putting out a new product to market. So that's the biggest benefit. And obviously an idea of cost depends on products, strengths, all that kind of stuff. So it's hard for me to say, obviously, but the biggest thing is the cost savings for the brand, because it allows them to put a product onto market without having to do all of this work.
Yeah, I think you covered everything that I wanted to say, Haseeb. I think the pros is cost of entry is far reduced. You know, the money that we're needing to spend on our finished products to get them through Novel Foods is mind-boggling. So, you know, for companies, they can obviously pick a product off the shelf, and we have a very broad range of offerings, whether it's terpene blends, flavorings, or herbal products. But the cons of that is you are getting more of a generic product as opposed to a bespoke development that you want to design or work with us to design.
Marc, quickly to jump in there.
Sorry, so I'll let you finish, Sal.
Now, quickly to jump in there. So obviously you're getting these products ready for white labeling before the 1st of...
Oh, Sal, you've gone on mute.
Yeah, so how do you think that was going to limit innovation? So, for example, let's say I wanted to launch a CBD oil, and I choose one of your formulations that are already compliant, you know, but I wanted to make some sort of change, you know, maybe a change to the product which, you know, suits a specific market that I'm trying to enter. How would
Yep.
that affect innovation? Because obviously it's definitely going to limit, you know, people thinking of completely, you know, new formulations from scratch. That's
Yep.
the real question. Because at the end of the
Yep.
day, these big brands that are spending a lot of money, you know, they really want their own product. How would that limit
Absolutely.
them, and how would it limit you?
In all honesty, it's probably the most stifling thing in the industry for innovation. It's as you know, an innovator, which is what I would classify myself as somebody for many years who's looked at different ways of means of creating products. And you know, when you're looking at, you know, in the plant kingdom, the number of different herbs and active ingredients that can combine with CBD and give a real benefit to people that can be enhanced above CBD on its own it's limited and stifled that. Well, as I say that, at the same time, I do understand why it is, and it was a similar situation with chia seeds, which was a novel food. Initially, when chia seeds went through the novel food process, it was limited to a number of uses, so it couldn't be used for a large volume of products. It was narrowed down, and actually, I think it was either 12 or 18 months ago that they actually widened the field of use for chia seeds. So initially, and this is always going to be the way when you've got something that's classified as a new product or a new extract on the market, you add into the fact that it's, you know, if you're taking broad spectrum products, they're very complex in their profile, and also it's something that's extracted from cannabis. For the regulators and the people that, you know, have to control the safety of this, ensure that the population has the, you know, the safe products in their right, they're always going to be very reticent to allow a large portion of innovation. But with that being said, it's innovation stifled at this stage, but as we grow as an industry, as we are legitimized as an industry, as we are seen from the outside as an industry that is proper and true and legal and legitimate, and more of these products enter the market and the safety profile is understood and appreciated, innovation will explode. You know, this is a short-term thing while we understand the safety profile. Innovation by no means is going to stop, but it has been stifled. I understand the reasons why it's been stifled. It's a bit of a knock on the chin, so to speak, when you do focus so much of your work and what you do around innovation. But at the same time, you know, one of the things that I've learned is that you can have all the ideas in the world and you can do anything in the world, but if you don't have the right regulatory pathway to ensure that you can do it in the right way, you just hit a brick wall and you don't get to where you want to get to. And ultimately, you know, our interest as an organization, and pretty much everybody that's in this industry, is interested in seeing the food supplement area flourish. And the UK is genuinely the first country in the world that has opened up the food supplement market, and the route of novel foods is the first that's there. You know, people talk about the hemp farm bill in the US and the fact that that's open access to cultivate hemp and to be able to sell CBD products, but on a congressional level, it's still not legal. And Congress and the FSA are waiting for the very data that we're generating, the toxicological information that we're creating for CBD, for cannabinoids, is exactly what regulators around the world are asking for. And I think once we can show this safety profile, I think that the future of CBD is very bright, both from an industry perspective and from an innovation perspective.
Exactly, Mark. Right now, it's a bit of a bottleneck. So obviously, as Mark was saying, the innovation is being bottlenecked. But then once you're through that point, it's gonna flourish again. It's gonna flow again, because the industry as itself, it's still in its infancy. It's a massively new industry. It's something that even a lot of the people working within the industry do not understand. So for it to be regulated is a bit of a pain, because of obviously the steps and the hurdles you've got to cross. But in the longevity, in the long term, it's giving it longevity. Sorry. So it's something we have to get through. But once we get through it, it allows us to be able to do everything we want to do again and flourish, as Mark said. But it's a temporary thing. But we'll be back to creating all the weird and wonderful products very soon, I hope.
Okay. So we have reached our end of our time. Well, for this webinar at least. We're not dying. So if there are no other questions, I would like to just ask our guests how people can reach you. What's the best way of reaching you, and how you like communicating with anyone that has questions or inquiries about the white labeling?
Yeah, so people can get in touch with us at info@b3labs.co.uk or sales@b3labs.co.uk, and one of the relevant team members will be happy to speak to you and see how we can help you. We as a business we still see ourselves as people who do business with people, and obviously we believe in people and their ideas, so we will always do what we can to help you and guide you and navigate you through these challenging times, and yeah, I hope to hear from you guys.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to the B3 guys for coming on today. It's much appreciated. And yeah, I think it's clear to say, you know, we've got exciting times ahead, and as Marc would say, you know, we should be grateful that we've got a clear pathway now from the FSA. Unlike most other countries, especially in the EU, we're seeing products get stripped all over the place. So yeah, as you said, thanks very much, guys, and yeah, we look forward to having another one with you guys soon.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Sal.
Thank you very much, Sal. Thank you, Christina.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Thanks, guys.
See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. And the recording will be available on our website as well. Okay. Bye, Sal. Catch you later.
All right, see you later, Christina. Bye-bye.